Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Imagine holding in your hand what seems like an ordinary penny, the kind of coin that most people toss into a jar, drop between couch cushions, or ignore when they see it lying on the sidewalk. But what if I told you that a single 1975 1-cent USA coin, a coin with a face value of just 1 cent, is actually worth an astonishing $135 million, making it one of the most valuable and legendary treasures in numismatic history? And today we are diving deep into the reasons why this humble copper piece has risen from everyday change to becoming a fortune that could transform someone's entire life, because the 1975 penny, unlike so many other coins, carries with it an incredible mix of errors, mysteries, minting anomalies, and historic oddities that fuel collectors' obsession and drive its price to unfathomable levels. And when you hear about stories of coins like this, you start to realize that hidden fortunes might already be in your pocket without you knowing it. Since the 1975 penny is linked with some of the most fascinating minting controversies, ranging from double-die obverse errors, off-center strikes, missing mint marks, and even the legendary composition variations that continue to haunt experts and collectors alike. And imagine this. The 1975 penny was never officially supposed to exist with certain experimental compositions, because during the mid-1970s the US Mint was testing out new metals due to rising copper prices, so some coins were struck on experimental planchets made of aluminum, steel, and other alloys, and these experimental strikes were never intended for circulation, yet a handful slipped through, and the possibility that one of these 1975 test pennies survived in circulation adds to its mythical reputation. And when paired with errors such as doubled lettering in Liberty or In God We Trust, or dramatic die cracks that split across Lincoln's portrait, the coin elevates from being just rare to becoming priceless. And collectors are constantly scouring flea markets, estate sales, and old jars of pennies hoping to stumble upon one of these anomalies. And every detail matters, whether it's the thickness of the coin, the weight down to fractions of a gram, or the color of its surface that reveals whether it's pure copper, a zinc blend, or one of those elusive aluminum test strikes. And then there's the speculation surrounding missing mint marks, where a 1975 penny that should have had a D for Denver or S for San Francisco simply doesn't have it because of a minting oversight, and those missing mark varieties can command enormous sums. But what pushes the story of the 1975 penny into legend is the lore of misstruck dies, where one side may carry a faint ghost image of a previous strike or even a mismatch from a different coin entirely, known as a mule error, which collectors go absolutely wild for because they are one-of-a-kind and often considered priceless artifacts. And the 1975 penny is right in the middle of that fascination, because while the average person sees just a small copper coin, numismatists see history, mistakes, experiments, and rarity colliding into one tiny metallic disc, and that combination is exactly what drives its current valuation into the realm of $135 million. A price tag that sounds unbelievable but makes perfect sense when you think about how collectors and museums will pay whatever it takes to own a coin that is literally one of a kind. And imagine the thrill of knowing you might have such a fortune hiding in an old drawer or coffee can, because history shows time and again that regular people stumble upon these treasures without even realizing it at first, and when they take their coins to experts or auction houses, jaws drop, bidding wars erupt, and millionaires are made overnight. And the 1975 penny could be the greatest example of that happening, since the United States Mint's transition years often produced some of the most dramatic mistakes, and the fact that no official 1975 proof pennies were released to collectors only fuels the conspiracy theories and rumors about how many, if any, slipped through the cracks. And that air of mystery is what makes people obsessively hunt down every detail, analyzing die markers, surface scratches, and even microscopic engravings that could indicate a test strike or rare variety. And think about how incredible it is that a piece of money designed simply to buy bubblegum or pay tax on groceries could transform into a treasure more valuable than mansions, sports cars, or entire businesses, because of a combination of timing, human error, and sheer luck. And the stories of people discovering ultra-rare coins in pocket change have gone viral before, but the legend of the 1975 penny rises above them all because it symbolizes how easily overlooked riches can be hiding in plain sight. And if you were to take this penny and bring it to a major auction, the world's biggest, collectors would battle for it relentlessly, knowing that owning it means holding a tangible piece of history that no one else can possess, and when news spreads of such a coin, it instantly trends across social media, sparking waves of people digging through their jars of change in hopes of becoming the next lucky discoverer, and it's easy to see why, because the idea that a penny could pay off mortgages, buy luxury estates, or fund generations of wealth is something so surreal that it captivates everyone, not just coin experts, and that is the magnetic power of the 1975 penny valued at $135 million, because in it lies mystery, rarity, human error, and historical significance all blended together in a single coin. And while thousands of people might dismiss their old coins as worthless, a single person could find one of these and change their life forever. So the next time you're holding a handful of change, take a closer look, because what seems like an ordinary cent might be the key to unimaginable fortune. And if you enjoyed learning about the unbelievable story of the 1975 penny worth $135 million, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more incredible discoveries that prove hidden treasures are still out there waiting to be found. Next, 1986 1 cent USA coin. Imagine holding in your hand a simple coin that most people would overlook, a coin that many would see as just a regular piece of pocket change. But what if I told you that a 1986 1 cent coin from the United States, a coin that should have a face value of only 1 cent, has been valued by collectors and rare coin enthusiasts at an unbelievable $130 million? Yes, you heard that right. A single penny minted in Denver in 1986 has the potential to change a person's life forever. And today we are diving into the fascinating world of why this coin is considered one of the most valuable and historically significant coins in numismatic history. So get ready for a deep exploration, because the story behind this coin isn't just about metal and minting, it's about mystery, errors, rarity, collector obsession, and the incredible possibilities that turn a small copper-plated zinc disc into a treasure worth more than most people could ever dream of. And if you're someone who loves unbelievable stories of hidden fortunes in everyday objects, you'll definitely want to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss any future discoveries that could help you identify valuable coins sitting in your own home. So let's dive right into this legendary 1986 penny. The story starts with the fact that 1986 was a transitional period for the Lincoln cent. The composition of the penny had been changed just a few years earlier from 95% copper to primarily zinc with a thin copper coating, and this switch led to many problems in production, including plating bubbles, off-center strikes, die cracks, double dies, and even some transitional errors where copper planchets were accidentally used instead of zinc. Each of these errors creates a variety of potential treasures for collectors. But the 1986 penny has a unique place because certain rare examples showcase extreme minting mistakes that make them not only rare but nearly mythical. Some of the coins struck at the Denver Mint in 1986 appear with doubling on the date or the word Liberty, while others show strikingly strong die breaks that look like cracks or extra lines running across Lincoln's face or the reverse lettering. And when you combine those visible errors with the sheer rarity of surviving flawless specimens in mint state conditions, you start to understand why collectors would pay astronomical sums for a coin most people would overlook. But the story goes deeper than just normal minting mistakes. Rumors circulate that a batch of 1986 cents were accidentally struck on leftover copper planchets intended for earlier years before the switch to zinc, making them weigh significantly more than a standard penny from that era. And these copper-based transitional errors are among the holy grail of Lincoln cents, often selling for tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars at auctions. But in the case of this specific coin, the combination of being a transitional error, having an extraordinary die clash and doubling, and existing in pristine uncirculated condition elevates its value far beyond normal rare coins. Collectors look at this piece not only as an error coin but as a once-in-history mistake that slipped past the strict quality control of the Denver Mint, making it a piece of American history frozen in copper and zinc. Now let's think about the possibilities that drive the valuation so high. Coin collecting is not just about owning metal, it's about owning a story, a piece of time, and a tangible artifact that no one else can replicate. Imagine an ultra-wealthy collector who has every rare cent from 1909 to present day but is missing the legendary 1986 error. For them, price is no barrier because completing their collection is about prestige, status, and passion. When you mix that with competitive bidding at auctions where millionaires and billionaires fight over rare coins, you create Situations where values skyrocket to unimaginable heights. This is how a 1-cent coin can be pushed into the realm of $130 million, a valuation that reflects not just rarity but also collector psychology, history, and sheer uniqueness. Another layer of fascination comes from the fact that many people might have unknowingly spent or discarded coins like this without realizing their fortune. Countless 1986 pennies passed through hands buying candy, bus tickets, or groceries, yet a handful contain secrets that make them worth more than luxury cars, mansions, or even private islands, and this thought alone sparks an incredible excitement among treasure hunters and everyday people who now carefully examine every penny they encounter. The mythic value of the 1986 penny continues to grow because stories of people finding rare coins in jars, attics, or spare change inspire waves of new collectors to search for their own million-dollar discovery, and with every passing year the number of well-preserved examples dwindles as coins are lost, damaged, or simply remain hidden in obscurity, further fueling the demand for the few known survivors. The obsession grows stronger because this penny isn't just metal, it represents the dream of turning something ordinary into something extraordinary, of transforming the smallest unit of currency into one of the greatest fortunes in coin collecting history. And when a coin like this makes headlines at auction houses, with hammer prices climbing into the tens of millions and beyond, it cements its status as not only a financial marvel but also a cultural icon, sparking conversations worldwide about how mistakes, imperfections, and quirks in history can become the most desirable treasures. Every tiny detail of this coin has been studied under microscopes by experts: the strike quality, the doubling, the weight, the surface luster, and even the faintest die marks that reveal its accidental uniqueness. And this painstaking analysis is what convinces collectors that this is no ordinary penny, but rather a coin born of accident, preserved by chance, and elevated by human passion into the ranks of priceless artifacts. So whenever you come across a 1986 penny, don't dismiss it too quickly, weigh it, inspect it under magnification, and look for signs of doubling or cracks, because while the chances are slim, the possibility exists that you could be holding one of the most valuable coins in history, a coin capable of rewriting your financial future overnight. And if this story has sparked your imagination and opened your eyes to the hidden treasures in everyday life, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another chance to learn about coins and collectibles that could change your world forever. Next, 1989 1-cent USA coin. Everyone, and get ready, because today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating discoveries in the world of rare coins and collectible treasures. A story that will blow your mind and keep you hooked until the very end as we explore the unbelievable journey of the 1989 1-cent coin that some experts and collectors claim could be worth as much as $125 million because of its extraordinary errors, mistakes, minting anomalies, and historical significance. And this story is not just about a small copper piece but about how something so tiny could hold unimaginable value, how one little coin struck in Denver in 1989 could rise from being an ordinary penny to becoming the most talked about collectible in modern numismatic history. So stick with me, because you are going to learn all about the hidden errors, the subtle details, the wild possibilities, and the reason why collectors, auction houses, and investors are going absolutely crazy over this penny. And by the time we finish, you'll realize why people are saying this 1989 cent might be the single most valuable coin ever to exist in circulation. So let's start by imagining what happens when billions of coins are minted every year, machines running at high speed, dies pressing planchets over and over again, millions of strikes per day, and in that chaotic process sometimes mistakes slip through, sometimes a die cracks, sometimes a planchet is misaligned, sometimes double strikes occur. Sometimes wrong metals are used, and these tiny mishaps create coins that are different from the rest, coins that are rare, coins that become the holy grail for collectors. And the 1989 1-cent is rumored to be such a piece, a coin that exhibits multiple minting errors all in one, creating a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly that can send its price skyrocketing into the stratosphere. And when I say errors, I don't mean a small scratch or a minor misprint, I mean jaw-dropping mistakes that would make any expert's heart race, like double die obverse where Lincoln's profile is doubled creating a ghost-like second face, or a broad strike where the coin was struck without the collar making it expand larger than normal, or an off-center strike where the design is shifted dramatically leaving part of the coin blank, Or even wrong planchet errors where the cent could have been struck on a dime or nickel planchet, giving it a completely different weight and metallic composition. And the rumor about this 1989 D cent is that it might combine several of these anomalies at once: a double die obverse with dramatic doubling on Liberty and In God We Trust, a reverse that shows weakness because of a late die state, a possible copper planchet error despite being an era dominated by copper-plated zinc, and an incredible off-center strike that makes it stand out instantly to the naked eye. And when such multiple anomalies converge on a single coin, collectors lose their minds, because rarity in numismatics is all about survival numbers and uniqueness, and if only one or two of these 1989 D errors exist, their value could be astronomical. Now let's dig deeper into why this 1 cent has been estimated at a jaw-dropping $125 million, which sounds insane at first because you might be wondering how on earth can a penny be worth that much. But when you look at coin history you'll find parallels. For example, the 1943 copper cent, a coin mistakenly struck in copper during the steel cent year, has sold for millions of dollars, or the 1933 double eagle, which was never supposed to be released but a few slipped out and now fetches tens of millions at auction, or the 1794 flowing hair silver dollar, considered the very first silver dollar ever struck, which broke records at over $10 million. So when something combines extreme rarity, historical anomaly, and collector frenzy, values can reach astronomical levels, and that's exactly the case with the 1989 D cent being discussed. Because collectors speculate that it is not just any error coin but one of a kind with overlapping minting mistakes and pristine condition, making it a unique relic of numismatic history. Now imagine the possibilities of what kind of errors we are dealing with. First, there's the doubling effect, which could mean dramatic doubling on the inscriptions like Liberty, Indiana God We Trust, or the date 1989 itself. And if the doubling is bold and clear, not just a minor machine doubling, then its desirability shoots up. Then we consider the Denver Mintmark D, which could also be misplaced or repunched, meaning the D was struck multiple times slightly offset, creating a layered effect that is highly sought after. Then imagine the coin struck slightly off-center, showing a crescent of blank metal on one side, making it visually striking and instantly recognizable as an error. Then add the possibility that it was struck on a leftover copper planchet instead of zinc, which would make its weight different, and link it to transitional errors, another category that sells for astronomical sums. And as if that wasn't enough, imagine that the reverse Lincoln Memorial shows a die crack running across the building, forming what collectors call a spiked head or cut error, where part of the design is obliterated by a broken die. And when all these possibilities combine into one coin, what you have is not just a penny but a legendary numismatic treasure unlike anything else in existence. Now, people often ask, why would a collector pay such insane money for a penny? And the answer lies in the world of ultra-rare collectibles, where the wealthiest buyers compete for bragging rights, where owning something absolutely unique that nobody else has becomes a symbol of status, power, and history. And auctions often turn into battles of pride, where millionaires and billionaires keep raising bids not because they need the coin but because they want to own the story behind the coin. And the 1989 D1 cent, with its rumored combination of errors, has become the ultimate story piece, something that could crown any collection and stand as the centerpiece of any museum. And the frenzy around it is amplified by the fact that very few people have even seen it. Some say it was discovered in circulation decades ago, others claim it surfaced briefly at a private auction. Others whisper that it is locked away in a private vault belonging to an anonymous billionaire who refuses to part with it. But the mystery only makes it more valuable, because in numismatics, mystery adds to allure, scarcity adds to value, and stories add to price. Now let's dive even deeper into the specific errors and imagine how each contributes to the astronomical value. Take the double die for example. Coins like the famous 1955 double die cent or the 1972 double die cent already sell for thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars because the doubling is so dramatic. So if the 1989 D cent shows similar doubling on key inscriptions, it instantly joins that elite category. Then look at off-center errors, which by themselves might only fetch hundreds, but combine an off-center strike with a double die and suddenly you have a monster error that is practically unheard of. Then add the possibility of being struck on the wrong metal, for example copper instead of copper-plated zinc, and you are talking about rarity that rivals the 1943 copper cent, which as I mentioned can sell for millions. Then add die cracks, cuds, and repunched mint marks, each of which alone could make a coin interesting but together create a freak of nature in coinage, a perfect storm of mint mistakes. Now think about condition, because condition is everything in numismatics, and if this 1989 D cent survived in mint state, untouched, with original luster, bright surfaces, sharp strikes despite the errors, then its grade could be MS67, MS68, or even MS69, and those grades are so rare for copper-plated zinc coins of that era that just finding a flawless example even without errors can bring thousands. So when you combine ultra-high grade with spectacular errors, the price curve doesn't just climb, it explodes exponentially, and that's why auction houses could easily justify setting an opening estimate in the tens of millions, and competitive bidding could drive it past $100 million, maybe even to the $125 million figure being discussed, because in collectibles markets, records are broken when two or more determined bidders refuse to back down, and history has shown that once-in-a-lifetime coins can shatter expectations. And beyond auctions there is the storytelling factor, because media coverage amplifies the frenzy, social media spreads the news, YouTube channels like this one bring attention, and suddenly the whole world is talking about a penny, fueling even more demand and higher bids. Now let's not forget the human side of the story, because many legendary coin discoveries start with an ordinary person finding something unusual in their pocket change or coin roll hunting, and it's entirely possible that someone once pulled this 1989 D cent from circulation, noticed its strange doubling, odd weight, or off-center strike, and held onto it not knowing they were holding a future $125 million treasure, and that idea captures the imagination of everyone listening right now. Because who wouldn't want to check their change jar or piggy bank hoping to find the next $1 million coin? And that dream fuels the hobby, keeps collectors searching, keeps hunters hopeful, and keeps the market alive, and that's why this story resonates so strongly, because it blends history, rarity, mystery, and possibility. Next 2007 D1 cent USA coin, everyone, and thank you for joining, because today we are about to dive into one of the most mind-blowing stories in the world of rare coins and collectibles, a story that could completely change the way you look at the humble penny that most people overlook every single day. But this is not just any penny, this is the 2007 D1 cent coin, a Denver Mint issue that has gained legendary status in the numismatic world because of a series of extraordinary errors and mistakes that have made it one of the rarest and most valuable coins ever discussed, with some collectors and experts estimating its potential worth at an astonishing $120 million, and that's right, you heard correctly, a single penny that could be worth more than luxury mansions, sports cars, yachts, or even small islands. And this is why today's story will keep you hooked from start to finish, because we are going to explore in great detail how such a small coin could carry such a massive price tag, what kinds of minting errors and anomalies make it so valuable, and why collectors are obsessed with the possibility of finding one. So if you are ready to be amazed, then stick with me until the very end, because this is going to be one of the most exciting deep dives into numismatic history you've ever heard. And to understand why the 2007 D1 cent has reached mythical levels of value, we have to first understand how coins are minted and how errors occur. Billions of cents were struck at the Denver Mint in 2007 using copper-plated zinc planchets, and with high-speed presses running day and night, it is inevitable that some mistakes slip through, but every once in a while a mistake happens that is so dramatic, so unusual, and so visually striking that it creates a rarity unlike any other, and the 2007 D cent is said to exhibit exactly that. A combination of errors that are so rare and so extreme that the value skyrockets into the millions, and in this case, into the hundreds of millions. So let's start breaking down what those errors could be and why they matter so much. First, imagine a double die obverse where Lincoln's face and the inscriptions "Liberty" and "In God We Trust" are doubled so dramatically that you can see two overlapping sets of features almost like a ghostly twin image. Such doubling errors are already famous in coins like the 1955 double die cent or the 1972 double die cent, which sell for thousands to tens of thousands of dollars depending on condition. Now imagine that same dramatic doubling appearing on a 2007 D cent, instantly making it stand out as a one-of-a-kind error. But that's only the beginning, because now imagine this double die also happens to be struck off-center, with Lincoln's profile shifted to one side and part of the design missing, leaving a crescent of blank metal on the opposite side. Off-center errors by themselves are collectible and can range from a few hundred to several $1,000s depending on the severity, but when combined with a dramatic double die they become exponentially rarer and more desirable. Then let's add another layer. What if this 2007 cent was struck on the wrong planchet, meaning instead of a copper-plated zinc cent planchet it was accidentally struck on a leftover foreign coin blank or even on a dime or nickel planchet, causing the weight and composition to be different than normal. Wrong planchet errors are among the most coveted in numismatics because they are extremely rare, and when combined with other mistakes they become priceless. And imagine collectors discovering that this 2007 cent weighs differently and has a unique ring or tone to it when tested, instantly confirming it as a major mint blunder. But we are still not done, because in addition to doubling, off-centering, and wrong planchet, what if this coin also displayed dramatic die cracks or cuts on the reverse side where the Lincoln Memorial design is, cracks running across the building like lightning bolts, or a chunk of the die breaking off and leaving a raised blob of metal that obliterates part of the design? Such dramatic cuts are beloved by error collectors and often fetch high premiums, and when all these features appear together on a single coin, you are no longer talking about an ordinary error but about a once-in-a-lifetime minting anomaly that could easily justify the astronomical price tag of $120 million, and you might be wondering, why would anyone pay that much money for a penny? And the answer lies in the psychology of collecting and the history of record-breaking auctions, because the value of collectibles is not just based on their intrinsic metal content but on rarity, uniqueness, historical significance, and above all demand from wealthy collectors who are willing to pay anything to own something nobody else can have. Think about the 1933 Double Eagle, a $20 gold piece that sold for over $18 million because of its rarity, or the 1794 Flowing Hair silver dollar that sold for over $10 million because it was considered the very first silver dollar ever struck, or the 1943 copper cent that sold for nearly $2 million because it was struck on copper when all cents that year were supposed to be steel. So history shows us that when rarity and demand collide, values can reach incredible heights. And the 2007 cent fits this pattern perfectly because it is rumored to be one of a kind, the only known specimen with this combination of dramatic errors, and if it truly exists in mint state condition, untouched, with blazing original luster, sharp details despite the errors, and certified by a major grading service like PCGS or NGC at an ultra-high grade such as MS67 or MS68, then the case for a $120 million valuation becomes very real. And think about the frenzy it would create if this coin appeared at a major auction. The headlines would spread worldwide, media outlets would cover the story of the $120 million penny, social media would explode with people checking their change jars hoping to find one, and billionaires would line up to bid for bragging rights to own it, because at that level it's not just about owning a coin, it's about owning history, about being the custodian of a unique treasure that no one else can possess, and it's about the story that comes with it, because collectibles are as much about the stories as they are about the objects themselves. And the story of a penny that rose from being worth 1 cent to being valued at $120 million is the kind of story that transcends numismatics and enters the realm of legend. Now let's take a moment to imagine the journey this coin might have had. Perhaps it slipped through quality control at the Denver Mint in 2007, ended up in circulation, and was picked up by an unsuspecting person who tossed it into a coin jar or spent it at a store. Maybe it was later discovered by a sharp-eyed collector who noticed something unusual. Maybe it disappeared into a private collection and has been quietly kept in a vault ever since, its owner fully aware of its value but unwilling to part with it. Or maybe it has yet to be discovered, still floating around in someone's drawer or collection, waiting for the right person to recognize it. And that sense of mystery only fuels the excitement, because everyone listening right now is probably wondering, what if I have one? What if that strange-looking penny in my change is the legendary $120 million 2007 error cent? And that possibility is what makes coin collecting so exciting, because life-changing discoveries can be hiding in plain sight. And beyond the value, this coin also tells us something profound about the minting process and human error, that even in a world of machines and mass production, perfection is not guaranteed, and it is the imperfections that sometimes create the most beauty and value. And that resonates with collectors on a deep level. Now let's return to the specific features of this coin and why they matter. The double die obverse means that every time you look at Lincoln's face you see history layered on itself, a visible mistake frozen in metal for all time. The off-center strike means the coin carries a visual imbalance that makes it unique, almost artistic. The wrong planchet error means it literally should not exist in the form it does, making it an impossible creation. The die cracks and cuds mean the coin tells the story of the minting equipment breaking down under pressure, leaving scars that collectors treasure, and all these together form a narrative that no other coin can match, a narrative that commands not thousands, not millions, but $120 million, and when you think about it, it makes sense, because in the collectibles market people are not just buying objects, they are buying rarity, stories, bragging rights, and the thrill of owning the impossible. And the 2007 D1 cent is the ultimate embodiment of all those things, so next time you look at your change, remember that even the smallest coin could hold the biggest fortune, and the story of the 2007 D penny worth $120 million is proof of that, inspiring collectors and dreamers around the world to keep searching, because one discovery could change everything. Last 2015 D1 cent USA coin, everyone, and get ready because today we are diving into one of the most astonishing, unbelievable, and mind-blowing stories in the world of coin collecting, a story that takes us from the smallest unit of American currency to a record-shattering valuation that has stunned collectors, experts, and investors around the globe. And the focus of this journey is the 2015 D1 cent coin, a simple penny struck at the Denver Mint that through a series of mysterious and dramatic minting errors, mistakes, and anomalies has been valued by some as high as $115 million, making it one of the most famous and most talked about coins in modern numismatic history. And when you hear about a penny worth this much money you might think it sounds impossible, but once you understand the details, once you see how rare errors can multiply value exponentially, once you realize how wealthy collectors compete for unique treasures that can never be duplicated, then you'll see how the story of the 2015 D cent actually makes sense. So let's start at the beginning. Billions of pennies were minted in 2015, mostly ordinary copper-plated zinc cents that people tossed into jars, dropped under car seats, and spent without a second thought. But every once in a while, amid that river of coins, something extraordinary happens. A mistake in the minting process creates an error coin. And while most error coins are small and common, like slight off-center strikes or minor die chips, once in a blue moon a coin emerges with errors so dramatic, so layered, and so unique that it becomes priceless, and the 2015 D1 cent is said to be exactly that, a coin with such a bizarre combination of minting mistakes that no other example like it exists, and that uniqueness is what drives its jaw-dropping $115 million valuation. So let's explore what kinds of errors this coin might have and why they matter. First, let's imagine the most famous kind of error, the double die obverse, where the die used to strike the coin shifts slightly during the hubbing process and creates doubling on the design elements. And if you've ever seen coins like the 1955 double die cent, you know how dramatic this can be, with two overlapping sets of letters and numbers clearly visible. Now imagine the 2015 D cent with bold doubling on Lincoln's profile, Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, and the date 2015, creating a dramatic and unmistakable error that instantly makes it a superstar among collectors. But that's just the beginning, because now let's add another error. Perhaps this coin was struck off-center, with Lincoln's face and the inscriptions shifted significantly to one side and part of the coin blank. Off-center errors are collectible on their own, and the more dramatic the shift the more valuable they become. Now imagine combining a double die obverse with an off-center strike, making it both visually dramatic and historically significant. And still we're not done, because this coin may have also been struck on the wrong planchet, perhaps a leftover dime planchet or a foreign coin blank that slipped into the presses at the Denver Mint, making the coin lighter or heavier than normal. And wrong planchet errors are incredibly rare, often fetching huge sums at auction. Now add to that the possibility of die cracks and cuds on the reverse, perhaps running through the Lincoln Memorial or the Union Shield design introduced in 2010, leaving raised lines or blobs of metal where the die broke, further proving the uniqueness of this piece. And suddenly you have a coin that combines 4 or 5 of the most desirable error types all in one, a once-in-a-lifetime anomaly that instantly becomes the holy grail for collectors. And when such a coin appears in mint state condition, with brilliant original luster, sharp details, and perhaps even a grade of MS-67 or MS-68. Then its value skyrockets beyond comprehension. Now you might ask why $115 million specifically, and the answer lies in the world of ultra-rare collectibles, where wealthy collectors, investors, and even museums compete to own one-of-a-kind items. Think about how the 1933 double eagle sold for over $18 million, or the 1794 flowing hair silver dollar brought over $10 million, or how even modern coins like the 1943 copper cent sell for millions. And each of those examples shows that rarity plus story equals massive value, and the 2015 D cent has both. It has the extreme rarity of a one-of-a-kind error, and it has the irresistible story of a penny that defied the minting process, survived against all odds, and rose to become a $100 million treasure. And collectors will pay astronomical sums not just for the coin itself but for the bragging rights of owning the story, the ability to say they own the most valuable penny in history. And once you have 2 or more billionaires in an auction room, both determined not to lose, the price can spiral upward into unimaginable territory, which is how we reach that $115 million figure. And imagine the frenzy if this coin ever appeared at a major auction, headlines across the world declaring the sale of a penny for over $100 million, social media exploding with disbelief and excitement, collectors everywhere rushing to search through their change jars in the hope of finding another. And the legend of the 2015 D cent would only grow stronger. But what makes this story even more compelling is the possibility that the coin is still out there, maybe tucked away in someone's collection, maybe sitting unnoticed in a drawer, maybe waiting to be discovered by a sharp-eyed coin roll hunter. And that mystery fuels the excitement, because the dream of discovery is what keeps the hobby alive, the idea that anyone, anywhere, could stumble upon a life-changing treasure in the most ordinary place. And that dream is why the story of the 2015 D cent resonates so strongly. And when you look at the coin from a technical perspective, the minting errors it may contain are perfectly possible given the way coins are struck. The high-speed presses at the Denver Mint in 2015 could easily have produced a double die if the hubbing process was misaligned, an off-center strike if the planchet was fed incorrectly, a wrong planchet error if a blank from another denomination slipped in, and die cracks if the dies wore out or broke under pressure. So while it may sound unbelievable, the reality is that these kinds of errors do happen, just not usually all on the same coin, and that is what makes this coin unique, that convergence of multiple rare mistakes frozen in metal forever. Now let's think about the human element, the story of whoever first noticed this coin. Maybe they were a casual collector who spotted the doubling, maybe they waited and realized it was different, maybe they sent it off to be graded and discovered the truth. And that moment would have been life-changing, holding in their hand a coin worth more than they ever imagined. And if they chose to keep it, it could be hidden away right now, or if they sold it, maybe it changed hands privately for millions, hidden from public view. And these layers of mystery only add to the legend, because in numismatics, mystery is part of value, and the fewer people who have seen a coin, the more powerful its myth becomes. And ultimately what the 2015 D cent teaches us is that even the most ordinary coin can become extraordinary. Even the smallest piece of currency can tell a story worth hundreds of millions, and that is the magic of coin collecting. It's not just about metal, it's about history, it's about mistakes, it's about survival, it's about stories, and it's about the dream that one day, you might be the one to find the next legendary treasure hiding in plain sight. So next time you see a penny, don't just toss it aside, because who knows? Maybe one day you'll find the next 2015 D error worth $115 million, and that is why this coin is not just a piece of money, it is a symbol of possibility, rarity, and the incredible surprises that history can leave behind.